Here's my note card. Health insurance is something that is very important, albeit very expensive. However, the Affordable Care Act, more commonly known as Obamacare, has reduced costs for many individuals that are eligible for those plans. A 2019 study from FAU faculty found that despite critiques that the cost of this program from the government would spiral out of control, leading to wild price increases, it is shown that relatively consistent increases in the premiums that are charged to members are able to match the private industry and keep the program afloat. While this program is important, it is important to know how it might be priced since it might be applicable to you. So I'll be outlining the 3 basic principles of pricing ACA plans, which is the metal value, the risk factors used in adjusting the price, and the risk adjustment formula and its consequences. Starting with metal ratings. ACA plans are broken into 5 different categories, those being bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and catastrophic. Catastrophic functions as a very low-cost plan that has high day-to-day costs, but in the case of emergency, has nearly full coverage. Bronze plans cover about 60% of the costs of the plan, silver about 70%, gold 80%, and platinum 90%. As the coverage increases for these plans, so does the amount that you have to pay in to get that sort of coverage. So those who do not need as much coverage tend to stick to bronze and silver plans, as this graphic from a March 2024 eHealth article shows. And those who utilize more, or know they'll utilize more, tend to steer more towards gold and platinum plans when available. There are also cost-sharing reduction plans, which give subsidies to some of these plans, most often those being silver, depending on your income. As this graphic shows, somebody who's within 150% of the federal poverty line can qualify for a 94% coverage plan, so effectively a platinum plan, while still getting the benefits of silver along with subsidies. Moving on to risk factors. From a baseline ACA plan within a given state, or within a given plan, they can only be adjusted in cost to you personally based on 3 factors, those being age, your location, and your smoker status. If you smoke, that can allow the price to go up by 50%, and for age brackets, those aged 64 and above are capped at triple the cost of what a young adult would pay for a similar plan. Now, the biggest change that this had on the industry was pre-existing conditions. Prior to the Affordable Care Act, private insurers were able to deny applications for plans based off of pre-existing conditions. So if you had a chronic heart condition and you were trying to apply for a policy, an insurance company would figure that you're very expensive to cover and would completely reject your claim based off of the fact that they know that you will cost a lot to the company. However, this and a lot of other discriminatory policies have been outlawed with the ACA. This graphic comes from a May 2024 article from the Kaiser Family Foundation, which is a nonprofit, nonpartisan research group for health policy within the United States. Moving on to risk adjustment. Starting in 2014, the Obama administration added risk adjustment to Affordable Care Act plans. So within all of the ACA market, some competitors have healthier patients and others will have sicker patients, as a large sample size generally will have. However, there's always a market average in there, and the point of risk adjustment is to try to have it so that way each individual company is approaching that target cost. So those with healthier patients would pay into the system, so those with unhealthier patients could get rewarded for taking on additional risk. Now, this is the formula that the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services uses for risk adjustment. It seems rather intensive, but it can be expressed rather simply. This is taken straight from a 2014 article from the Medicare and Medicare Research Review, which also helps with this policy. It can be broken up into a theoretical risk component that the company believes that they're taking on whenever they accept a client, and the actual risk that is determined after the year's claims are in and the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services determines. Now, this is either a positive or negative factor that determines whether a company pays into the system or takes or receives payments for taking on more risk. This is then applied to the state average for the premium for that metal type, leading to a set dollar amount that you get in risk adjustment. This is very similar to an error calculation with a theoretical minus actual that you might be familiar with in a lab setting. While risk adjustment is meant to level the playing field, companies still face strategic difficulties whenever it comes to pricing. This graphic comes from Milliman in a January 2024 article, which is an actuarial consulting firm that pulls industry data. So this exhibit is depicting two carriers that are charging the same amount for their plan, but have to pay out a different amount in claims. Granted, they both get risk adjustment to the point where they're compensated for their respective claims. However, risk adjustment doesn't account for interest over time. So since these payments come in a lot later, the companies that take on more risk are not rewarded quite as much as those who have not and have to pay out less in the future, leading to companies facing pricing issues even though they're in theory still compensated. These have been the three main topics of how ACA products are priced. Thank you.